Game 75 of the regular season, the Toronto Maple Leafs defeat the Ottawa Senators in comeback fashion, 5-4 in overtime. We go to 49-20-6 on the season. Michael Bunting joins the 60-point club. Mitch Marner continues to find the back of the net. This Leafs power play stays ice cold. Tim Stutzle is a diver, and Mark Giordano, the trade deadline acquisition, plays overtime hero. Lots to break down in tonight's game. Let's get into it.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble!
What's up, Leafs fans, and welcome back to Leafs Digest. As mentioned, we are breaking down Game 75 of the regular season against the Ottawa Senators. The Toronto Maple Leafs win this one 5-4 in overtime. They go down 2-0. They go down 3-1. They go down 4-3, and they find a way to claw back and win this one in overtime 5-4. And as I said, we go to 49-20-6 on the season. There's a whole bunch of things to get into here, Goody. Let's start right away, though. Easter weekend. We come off a big win against the Washington Capitals, and nobody knows what to expect. You're playing against yet another bottom feeder team. The Toronto Maple Leafs have struggled against those types of teams all season long. It's really hard to predict what's going to go on tonight, and then a 2-0 deficit early in this game. How did you feel when you see that happen early, and then how did you feel about the Leafs coming back and their overall play tonight?
I knew it was going to be a weird game, man. It always is with Ottawa. It seems so guaranteed that we're always going to be in a dogfight with these basement teams. But hey, that's the way it's been for a while now, and I'm still relieved that we're playing so good against the above 500 teams, the true contenders in the league. The Leafs have shown out, and we even recall that quote that the top stars on the Leafs had when they were talking to Sheldon Keefe about you got to do something about these bad teams. You got to start getting a winning record against them, and they essentially gave him the hand and said, buddy, when we come up short in playoff time, that's when we can have this kind of conversation. Yeah. So, it's just like, it seems so guaranteed that we're still going to struggle against groups like this, but at least you come through in the end, you get all 2 points. And, it ended up being a pretty offensive game, but it was a weird start and had me concerned for a minute.
Yeah, it's a little stressful at the beginning. It's one of those ones where you're down 2-0 and it's like, oh, it's going to be one of those games like we're going to drop this one here tonight. And then, okay, we get a goal 2-1 and oh, now it's 3-1 again. And okay, we have no shot in this one. It's out of control. But they ultimately managed to come back, and I think that shows a little bit of resilience there where you can look at it and say, all right, some positive things are going to happen. You can fight your way back, and yeah, you shouldn't lose to Ottawa, but sometimes it's going to happen where you get yourselves down in a game, and as long as you can find a way to come back and win, I think that's a good sign as well. We outshoot them 40-29 tonight. I wouldn't necessarily say being down in this game had anything directly to do with Erik Källgren, so I'm not going to put that blame on him. A lot of it was just opportunities that we gave up to Ottawa and they capitalized on, but we created our own chances here and put up 40 shots on goal at the other end, so I think that's a pretty good sign as well. But let's get into it right here. Michael Bunting joins the 60-point club, and he is the 6th player on the Toronto Maple Leafs this season to join the 60-point club. 6 guys on the team with 60 points this season. It's crazy what this team has been able to do. We're seeing guys set records all around. I mean, even Mitch Marner is quietly just joining Leafs history there with the amount of points that he's getting, the goals. And one of the things I had even mentioned to you off the top, in Mitch Marner's last 40 games, I believe it's now 27 goals that he's scored in the last 40 games. His career high, his previous career high over an entire season was 26 goals. The ability for this guy to put pucks in the back of the net, which is something we will get into here, has been insane. But that first line continuing to put up points at a crazy level, and Michael Bunting being a huge part of that. What do you make about Michael Bunting becoming the 6th player on the Leafs team this year to get to the 60-point club?
Buddy, I could go on for absolute days talking about Michael Bunting, and I know you could too. This guy was the signing of the offseason. You think about how elite his numbers truly are, and he's a rookie. Whether or not people think that's correct or morally correct, whatever way you want to spin it, he truly has very little experience in the NHL. And for him to come in here on the first line and kill it the way he's been killing it, he's been clutch too. Tonight was another demonstration of that. I'm a huge fan of Michael Bunting, and he wears the Leafs so proud. Yeah. So, I mean, you got to love that as well. And when it comes to Mitch Marner, this guy's always been good beneath the dots in the offensive zone. He's always been a crafty player who knows how to score down low and even set up his teammates. That's always been natural for him. But his one-timer from like the London Knights days. You're starting to see it kind of come back now. And I was wondering if we ever would, because to be honest, the guy doesn't shoot the puck that hard, but he's got a little bit more mustard on it recently, and it's shown up, and it's a big reason why he's got that many goals in just his last 40. The kid's on fire. I mean, he's a special player in his own right, gets overshadowed by Matthews all the time, but we got to give him his credit, and this is another great performance by him.
Yeah, as far as Michael Bunting stuff goes, the guy finishes with a goal and assist there tonight, and that goal was the one that gets him into the 60-point realm there. And it is a gritty goal where he's just going to the net, but when you break down kind of how that happened and what it was, he's in the right place at the right time. He knows to be there. He outmuscles the defender in front of the net, and then he's able to get his stick down on that and put it right into the back of the net. Like, yes, it was a perfect pass from Mark Giordano.
Don't ask how, Philly.
No, they do not. And it was a perfect pass from Giordano, and he's someone we'll talk about here as well, especially being the overtime hero in this game tonight. But to be able to get into that place and do that is great, and it does take a lot of actual like high hockey IQ to be in that position, and then the strength and the skill to be able to beat out that defender and put it in. And then he follows it up with the assist later on the Marner goal, where he's just making a great play, crossing the blue line, protecting the puck on his backhand, and putting it to an area where he knows Mitch Marner is, and being able to get that puck through to him is just great stuff from him just displaying that skill and that strength that he has. But let's talk about Mitch Marner here. 33 goals on the season so far this year. He's scored an absolutely insane amount over the last stretch, and we talked about it in the last 40 games, the amount of goals that he's put in the back of the net. But Mitch Marner being able to score goals and score goals in the different ways that he does. I mean, you look at the shorthanded goal against Florida when he steals it, goes on the breakaway and displays that skill. And then you look at like it's just a variety, right? Where he steps into that shot there tonight, the one-timer where he's far out in the zone, where now all of a sudden his shot is a threat where it wasn't before. And then even on that second goal that he scores, no, it's yet again not like the prettiest goal. It's similar to the Bunting's first goal of the game there, but he is in the right spot. He's in the right place. He goes to the net, and then he's able to get that get rewarded for that, because he has become much more of a threat. And Mitch Marner being able to score goals at this pace, this way, completely changes that dynamic, not just of that first line, but of this team. It's something looking forward to in the playoffs, where last year you looked at that Hyman, Matthews, Marner line where it was like, well, Zach Hyman's not the scorer. If he's going to score goals, it's because the other two guys are putting him in that position. Mitch Marner is not going to score goals because he's not a goal scorer and his shooting isn't a threat. So if you eliminate Matthews scoring, like what else are they going to do? That's not the case anymore. You have to be very careful when Mitch Marner is on the ice because he can burn you.
Yeah, I mean, that whole first line, think about how dangerous they are. They're the best line in hockey. We've talked about it before, and it just absolutely blows my mind the rate that we are paying Michael Bunting. This guy's dirt cheap. He's, like I said earlier, wears the maple leaf proudly, and is going to be a long-term part of this team. I have a feeling they're going to give him his money when it comes down to it, especially with this prediction that at some point this offseason, regardless of what happens, you could see one of the core four move on because the Leafs just want to shake things up. But either way, I think Michael Bunting is one of those guys that I see on the Leafs like 3-4 seasons from now still. Hopefully, at least. I've loved them.
Fair
and Mitch
enough.
Marner is a legend in the making, too. We can't sleep on him because of Austin Matthews.
Yeah. All right, well, let's get into our awesome Matthews play of the day here. All right, awesome Matthews play of the day here, Goody. I'm going to go with, I don't know where you're heading with this, so I hope I'm not stealing this from you, but I'm going to go with that Mitch Marner first goal that he scored. Being able to rip the puck like that from the out kind of closer to the point, it's a one-timer. Just him showing that his shot truly is a threat now. It is a game changer. It makes the goaltender second guess things because you're looking at a guy who's an incredible playmaker. You cannot look at that guy anymore and go, oh, I know he's going to pass, because it's honestly a complete toss-up of whether he is or he isn't. And when a guy can score like that and make the goaltender have to react to him shooting and be aware of him and his ability to score, and then he can also be the elite playmaker that he is, it makes him so much more dangerous, right? Because now it's not just step in and, oh, this guy's going to make a backdoor pass. Like, that's not the case. Now you have to play the shot, and then if he goes, it's going to be easier for the guy coming in backdoor to be able to score on those plays, because the goaltender has to be much more committed. The defenders have to be much more committed to playing Mitch Marner as a shooter. You have to be prepared for that now. And it's one thing to say, oh, the guy's able to score a lot more goals, but his shot truly has taken a step forward from last season, even where it's like, okay, yeah, maybe you're not just picking off corners and being able to find that, but you can just burn goalies by just ripping the puck past them, whether it be from slap shots, snap shots, stepping into a wrist shot or around the net there, like even in the high slot outside the top of the circles. Like, his shot has gotten significantly better, and that was a big display of that there when he steps into a one-timer, essentially skating back into the zone with a pass from TJ Brody where he just steps into one and burns it past the Ottawa goaltender there. It's amazing what he's been able to do. That's my play of the day, especially just because it shows off the versatility and his ability to score goals.
That's a solid one. You didn't end up taking mine there, but still a really good choice. I love what I've seen from him, man. He's having a coming out party in his own sense here with how many goals he's been scoring over the last 40. Just a special talent, seriously. And for my Austin Matthews play of the game, this is a weird one. Like, because I'm not even a huge fan of this guy, but I got to give it to Kyle Clifford. That was a sweet goal. Like, I was going to give it to Gio just because that's the game winner. And this guy's out here doing that at age 38. Like, what an acquisition. He's been huge. But I got to go ahead and go give it to Kyle Clifford because it's his first goal of the season. He's starting to be in the lineup a lot. And when him and Wayne Simmons were out there together, we discussed it last live stream. Yeah. It makes for a pretty tough dynamic. I think it just makes them almost more, how should I put this? They have backup there. So they're being a lot more gutsy, a lot more heavy on the enforcement. And for some reason, Wayne Simmons has been playing a lot better over the past 10. But Kyle Clifford is now in the lineup, it seems, a fair bit. So to see him score kind of a cool goal felt nice. And I mean, you tip it and it goes far post and in. That's pretty nasty for a guy who's just out there to fight. So I got to give him my Austin Matthews play of the game.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good one, man. It was a great tip. It really was. Like, getting your putt stick on it and then the placement of it. I don't know if Kyle Clifford specifically meant to do that and put it where he did, but hey, he did it.
Game plan the whole time.
Yeah, exactly. You can play that one off and say that's what I was intending to do. So it was a nasty tip there. One thing that I did want to talk about though, and I had thrown it in the notes. We won't spend too much time on it, and it's not going to be a harp on him type situation. But I'm curious what your thoughts are, kind of how this will advance moving forward, especially in his career. Tim Stutzle got called out 2 weeks ago by Brendan Gallagher for being a guy that dives. That first play there, when William Nylander was skating back, and Stutzle basically skated into Nylander's back. And do you think William Nylander is the type of guy to like go and try to physically impose himself on people and get in their way? It's like, no, like he's not going to do that. And Stutzle does this, skates into him and starts to like fall over and do all this stuff. And Nylander kind of just even looked back and was like, where are you going? And like put his hand on him to almost hold him up to make sure he didn't fall down. And all of a sudden Nylander gets an interference penalty. And it's like everyone, I think even online, is just looking at that. Everyone around the league, not even just Leafs fans, and they're like, oh my God, this guy's at it again. And then whatever, I went online and I saw like somebody had tweeted a clip of that where they're like, oh, here he is, Tim Stutzle diving again. And then there was an entire thread from just this season of Tim Stutzle diving. And I'm looking at this and I'm like, holy smokes. Like, this is I knew it was,
didn't get the coverage either, that you're just like seeing for the first time. And it's like, oh my God.
But it's just how there's guys who dive. There's guys who react a little too much and do some certain things. There's guys who draw penalties. I look at Michael Bunting or Nazem Kadri where they're a little bit more like flamboyant in their responses when they get hit by guys, where they sell it a little bit more. And it's one thing to sell it, and it's another thing to be like a diver. And I'm starting to classify it, and I'm not even like genuinely, like, I'm not even saying this as like a bias like Leafs thing here, because I even look at Brad Marchand. That guy is a like crafty penalty drawer, like where he can go out there and sell it. It's a different realm though than what Tim Stutzle is putting himself into, where it's just like the refs are going to start to look at this guy and how he's playing and be like, dude, you're just diving. Like, I genuinely think they went in the room after they called that penalty. They saw that on the tape. They saw it on the TV or whatever. And then later in the game, there was a very similar situation that happened in the third period between actually Stutzle and I think Nylander again. And Stutzle does his whole dive, falls, flails around everywhere, and nothing gets called. And they just continue play. It's like, but my question to you is kind of just going to be, how do you think this might affect his career moving forward, where it's not going to ruin his career? And I'm not saying it in that sense, but like this guy might just not be able to get the respect from referees or players around the league, where they're going to look at this guy and be like, okay, enough's enough.
Yeah, I think it's going to affect his likability, but other than that, if anything, it'll just probably statistically make him a better player. And I get the respect thing is definitely you're going to have a target on your head too. Guys are going to be chirping you. I get it. It's going to affect his likelihood around the likelihood, his likableness around the league. But I think otherwise, it's just going to make him a decent player. And look, I don't like it. I don't think it's good for the game. Like
Yeah.
personally, it looks soft. Like I would not want my teammate doing that. And I get why Gallagher criticized him. And to be honest, Timmy Stu's a really likable player. Even the way he handled the Gallagher comments, he just said, yeah, I respect Gallagher. He's entitled to his opinion, and like moved on with his day. It's weird. I respect Timmy Stu and I want to like him more, but it's greasy. And especially when it happens against your team, you start to look at it twice like, okay, man, maybe this is an issue.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think it'll really affect his career, just the way fans view him.
Yeah, fair enough. All right. One more thing here before we get into our grades of the game. Mark Giordano, 3-point night. He gets an assist on the on that original Bunting goal. He follows it up with another assist later on in the game. I'm trying to find here. And then he caps it off with the overtime winning goal. Mark Giordano has been pretty solid since he got here to Toronto. He's obviously going to be a guy who is loved by fans in this city. He's an older guy. He won the Norris back in the 2018 season. He's from Toronto, and he has the opportunity to come here, take a little bit of a load off of what was being demanded of him in Seattle, where he had to be a top pairing guy. But he's fit in pretty nicely. He's had some of his off nights, but being able to score that OT winner, I'm not even going to ask you about the OT winner and how you feel about Mark Giordano. My first question to you is going to be, how much do you think Mark Giordano loves getting to play for the Toronto Maple Leafs right now?
I'd say a fair bit. I mean, like a lot of guys would have every reason to like doing it. Even JT came home and, he's like a diehard Leaf fan at Bunting. Like there's a bunch of realistically, Ontario is such a feeder to the NHL, whether it's players, staff. Like the province of Ontario pumps so much into the NHL, and the Leafs have a stronghold over all of Ontario. So it's going to mean so much to a lot of people in the league, and Mark Giordano is just one of them. But to come here at this point in his career, I think that is what makes it a little bit special, because he's on his way out and he's going to have a chance to genuinely win with the Leafs. Whether or not that happens, okay, who knows? We discussed a little bit of what that might affect decision this offseason on last live stream, talking about if we win it, could it almost boost the likelihood that he just like moves on or maybe even retires, or will he want to run it back? That's a question for later, but he's definitely thrilled to be a Maple Leaf, and you can tell he's fit in well with us, and getting to do a bit of a reduced workload has paid dividends for the guy. I mean, he's 38 years old. That's pretty old to be out there competing with a bunch of youth in the league.
Yeah, no, fair enough. And I mean, he's been playing pretty well. Like he's kind of just fitting in, and then he gets a 3-point night there tonight. And that goal was honestly such a beautiful play. Like that pass from William Nylander, full ice, stretching it out to the blue line there, tape to tape. Giordano, the patience to make sure he stays on side, receives that puck, and then just a beautiful shot by, like, in the Battle of Ontario, playing against Ottawa, in what sounded like a Leafs home game in there. And they kept flashing to the crowd, and it's like a sea of blue every time they show the cameras there. So that must have been a pretty cool feeling for him, and just a great way to cap off that night and that comeback. But Mark Giordano has been an absolute stud basically since he got here. Yeah, you have your off nights, but for the most part, I think he's looked really good. He's fit in quite nicely. Goody, let's get to our grades of the game. All right, grades of the game. We know how this works. Goody gives his team eye test here. He breaks it down from what he saw, how he felt about it, gives his grade, and then I'll go through the analytics, our stat categories, and see how the two of our grades line up. So, Goody, why don't you start this one off?
Yeah, I mean, it was a shaky game against a not-so-good team, so right there, that's going to reduce the grade a little bit. The power play, like, we got to figure out something there. So yeah, there's some things that weren't perfect. We couldn't get the goaltender into the 900 save percentage. That's always been a struggle recently, even though I agree with you, Chalgren didn't look that bad. There wasn't really anything where it stood out like, damn, you really just screwed the team. And at the end of the day, we're just asking for a 900 save percentage and stop the ones that you should stop. And this Leafs team was still good though. 41 shots on net. We end up picking up the W comeback fashion. There's something to be said for that. I'm going to give it a B.
Okay.
But that's the gut feeling there. I'm going to give it a B because, I mean, you do got to figure out a way to just deal with these crappy teams at some point. No disrespect to the Sens, but like the Leafs have been actually instructed directly to go out and start figuring out this not being able to face teams in the bottom half of the league. And I know that they had the response that was fair where it's like, hey, if this is an issue in playoffs, that's when you bring it back up to us. But still, like it would be nice to at least, we won tonight, so it doesn't matter. but it was scary out of the gate there. And I was like, of course.
Yeah.
And the Raptors got me in a salty mood right now too. So I'm just sounding off, but I'm going to give it a B. You know, could have been better. It's a W though. I'll take it. We keep rolling.
All right, let's get into the numbers here. Goody, first things first, team offense, 5 out of 5. What happens?
5 out of 5, baby.
5 out of 5. 5 goals scored. I'm going to give it the 5 out of 5. That's a lot of goals to score, like, every time. And if you're putting up 5 goals,
everyone knows the rules.
Yeah, 5, yeah. I have a hard time giving it anything less than a 5 out of 5. So offense, 41 shots on goal, as you said. We had 2 power plays. They only generated 3 shots. So you basically, you're putting up 38 shots at 5v5. And then you score 5 goals. Like, there you go. 5 out of 5. Team defense, I'm going to go with a 3 out of 5. There was a couple bad breakdowns. There was I did look at that one goal that was scored, the 2-0 to start the game. It started from the offense, but you look at what happens. Justin Hall is the last man back at the blue line. He's in the center of the ice. He gets a pass from Alex Kerfoot off the wing, it was Kerfoot off the wing there. He slides it over to Brody on the far side. And if you watch Justin Hall, when they showed it back on the cam, he passes to TJ Brody, who is further into the zone than he is, and Justin Hall skates straight to the net. There's 4 Leafs players ahead of him on the ice, including Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner. And he decides he needs to be further into the zone than those guys. TJ Brody tries to make a pass across. He doesn't get it through. It gets blocked. 2-0 goes the other way. It should have been a 2-on-1. Maybe they still score. I don't know, but it should have been a 2-on-1. There was a couple bad defensive breakdowns. I also looked at the second Tim Stutzle goal. That's a bad turnover by Ilya Lyubushkin. It wasn't like he made a bad pass. He just lost the puck essentially, but your last man back with a good goal scorer coming down on you, you kind of got to protect that puck better, even if you're going to turn to the outside. He does flub it, so it's not 100% oh, what the hell were you thinking? I think he was thinking the right thing. He just messed it up, but it's a bad place to do that. And in the playoffs, those things can really, really, really kill you. So those are some things you just got to really get rid of. As I mentioned, some of those things are actually just offensive problems that led to some goals against, but it was generated especially by our defense. And then they turned into some bad defensive positioning and coverage that led to some of the goals. So I go 3 out of 5 on defense. Goaltending, I have a hard time with this one. I didn't really know what to give it on the grade here. I'm going to go with a 3 out of 5, though. He ends up with an 862 save percentage, and as you mentioned, you hit it right on the head. We're looking for at least 900 here, and he did face some breakaways. He did have a 2-0 goal against. He had a breakaway goal against. He had a bunch of these things that happened. That turnover by Lyubushkin is 5 feet away from him, and then he's got to try to react. He made an amazing save in overtime on Brady Tkachuk there. He did some really good stuff where I was considering bumping it to the 4, but he also lets in 4 goals on 29 shots, and this team had to try to claw their way back into this one against a not-so-great Ottawa Senators team, so I just had to bump it down. I go 3 out of 5. Power play, dude, I'm straight up giving this one 0 out of 5. This is now 17 power plays in a row that we haven't scored on. We're 0 for 17. They're going to score here soon, but as far as tonight goes, you're 0 for 17. That's not a great penalty kill on the other end. That's not a great team. You got to find a way to score. You have the best goal scorer, the best, one of the best playmakers in the NHL on your ice, and you can't put the puck in the back of the net for 17 straight power plays. That's got to be figured out. So I'm going to go 0 for 5. You go 0 for 2. But it's more just about the accumulation of what's going on here and just the lack of being able to set up and generate something. So 0 for 5 on that. Penalty kill, 5 out of 5. You go 1 for 1, but Ottawa had no chances really. We had a 2-on-1 situation on that penalty kill, and it's this penalty kill continues to be lethal, 5 out of 5. And this gives me a grade of a C. My grade tonight is a C, so getting a little off again. Last time was a little off because I had the power play. That skewed some of the numbers a little bit, giving it the 1 out of 5. But tonight, just with some of this, I think I honestly feel pretty comfortable with where my grade ended up on this one. So a C, I'm not oh, what the hell happened with my grading system? I think that's fairly accurate for tonight.
It's funny though, because I feel like I've been more critical of this game and you've kind of seen the redeemers in it more than I have, which is funny because our grades are pretty distant and mine's higher, but that's just the way it panned out today. I still had to reward the W, and you brought it up earlier. It was just good to see some fight back. Not that the numbers will always acknowledge it, but that is kind of daunting to go down and then need to come back. But they did it, and that's good, even though it was against a team they should have just dealt with from the beginning. But the grades are off again. We'll get back on page pretty soon.
Yeah. All right. Well, there you go. There's our breakdown. Game 75 of the regular season. The Toronto Maple Leafs defeat the Ottawa Senators 5-4 in overtime. We go to 49-20-6, looking for our 50th win on the season coming up here. Michael Bunting joins the 60-point club. Mitch Marner buries 2 goals. Mark Giordano plays the hero, and this power play continues to struggle. Apologies for no live stream tonight with Easter dinners and Raptors playoff games. It was just a little bit of a gong show going on here, so we didn't get to that, but we will be back with our regularly scheduled live stream programming tomorrow night after the game against the New York Islanders at 7:30. We will see you guys then. Keep believing.
Signing off.